this is when it comes down to when it's time to print your apparel. Now there's a lot of different ways to go about it. There's a lot of different techniques. All of them have their own individual process. Some are easier than others. Some take more time than others. Some are a little more tedious than others. Some cost a little bit more. Some you can actually do yourself. Some you're going to have to go see somebody for. So it kind of depends what you're trying to do with your brand and the looks you're trying to create. It's going to come down to the direction you want to go. And a lot of times I've helped people a lot with that. They may have things going, but just don't know the next step, or have an idea that they want to see through, but just don't know how to execute it. And they'll come to me and ask me like, hey, this is my idea. What can I do? Or I need this particularly. Do you know somebody who could do this? And even from there, getting embroidery done, the company I work with on a lot of different projects, just being able to send somebody there and just give them business. I don't need no percentage off. I don't need no referral fee. It's just good karma. It's just giving somebody some direction that may not have it. It could be right up the street, but if you don't know it's there, how you gonna go there? Most common and most traditional will probably be screen printing. And this has been used since the beginning of time. I don't know if you've seen those big machines with the arms on them that's fooled around. People still use this to this day. It's used a lot of times for printing sports apparel or any type of apparel. And what it basically is it's a paint that can go on garments and it will stick, and it normally doesn't fade. It actually lasts a very long time if you treat it and care for it correctly. And it's just the most common process used by a lot of people, especially when you're doing something in bulk. You have 1-arm machines, you got 2-arm machines, you got 4-arm machines, you got 8-arm machines, you got 16-arm machines, and depending on what type of motion and what type of business you're getting, that will kind of depend on what type of machine you need. It's weird because I've seen it done hundreds of times, and it still kind of blows me like, okay, if that's the image and they pretty much take paint and just put it on your screen, and it'd be several different colors. I've seen anywhere up to 3 to 4 colors. You normally don't get too crazy with screen printing because the more colors you use, the more it costs. Sometimes a lot more, sometimes not a lot at all to differentiate colors. But it's just really paint that they're painting on the screen on your garment. It's still kind of a dope process to me, but it can be tedious. And I think you can only do so much with it. And once it's done, they pretty much throw it through a heat machine, heat it up, make the paint stick on there. And again, it's just done with a screen. That screen setup fee, and you'll hear this probably several times during these weeks, is the setup fee because it does cost a little bit. But normally for a screen printing setup fee, it could be anywhere from $15 to $35 tops. I've never paid more than $35. I've never paid less than $15. And it's just really set your screen up. And normally they'll just give you one screen to start out with. And if you want different designs or different colors, you may have to get if you want a different design or at least an alteration to your original design, you may have to get a second screen, and they may normally give you a discounted price for the second screen. But once you set the screen, that screen is locked in. You can go back to that company 1,000 times. You'll never have to pay a setup fee again. It's a one-time fee. Once you pay it, you're good to go, and you can just pretty much drop off your garments to this company, and they will screen print your apparel. Transfers. Now, I'll go into a few more, and they may sound similar, but I'll tell you the difference between them all. Heat transfer is basically just a transfer sheet with your image on it. And I've used my screen printer to print me transfer sheets. So again, if I have a screen made and I drop, let's say a 12, I got to order a 12 I need done with my logo on it, I'll drop that 12 piece of whatever garment it is off to him. He already has my screen. I'll tell him what colors I need, and he'll do a screen print. I'm always kind of with cutting out the middleman, not to cut out anybody's business, but if I can do it myself and save a couple dollars, I get more profit. That's just business. So he basically took my screen and put it on a transferred piece of paper, had my logo on it with the paint already on there. That way I can still get my dozen done, but instead of dropping them off to him and paying him per shirt, I can actually take those 12 sheets, bring them to my house. I got my heat press machine. I can press it right on there myself. So not really cutting out the middleman because I'm still doing business with him. He still does charge me for the sheets. He just ain't charged me for the labor because I'm doing it myself. So it's still love. I still need those sheets. This is more of a different type of technology where they use a special type of ink, and you can get full color prints. Now, when you hear DTG, it means exactly that, directly to your garment. This is not DTG, this is vinyl. It's actually on the garment. DTG, direct to garment, is the image actually in the garment. It's literally inked into the garment. So it's a part of the garment. This is on, direct to garment is in, if that makes any sense to you. I hope it does. But it's more like they take this ink and they imprint the image into your garment where, it's more into the fabric compared to this is actually on top of the fabric. And I've seen it done 1,000 times. I've seen it done at a high level, it looks amazing. I've seen it done on kind of a low budget level, and it looks okay. But if you don't have the proper technology, which I've seen before, if the image isn't clear, and it doesn't come out clean through the machine like I've seen before, it's just high. It ain't nothing you really want to pump with your brand. I've had some done for my brand before. I love the shirts, but it kind of turned me off because it didn't come out how I envisioned it. And I actually had to do it again later on once I found out another way how to do it. It came out amazing. So that's DTG. I actually have a smaller cutter. I have an industrial cutter as well. I've used it for the last few years. I think I found it on like Marketplace. And once you learn how to set the program, once you download the program to your computer, you pretty much learn how to manage it. It can be a little complex sometimes, but it also can be simple. Because once you got the image locked in, all you do is push a couple buttons, go straight to the machine, it cuts your logo out directly for you. All you gotta do is peel it, press it, good to go. But there are smaller colors that you can actually hook up to your laptop. I don't know if you guys ever heard of Cricut. Cricut has, is it Cricut or Circuit? I'm sorry, it's either, I always get it confused. It's either Cricut or Circuit, and they have the Explorer and they have the Maker. And they do a lot of different stuff, This thing can cut almost anything. It can cut wood, it can cut leather. I think I had to cut leather before. It can cut suede, it can cut silk. And it's really just a laser-like razor that just does an amazing job at cutting whatever you could possibly think of. And it's made a lot for crafts, but it does cut literally hundreds of different material. I can search a material and it's normally going to be inside the program that it can cut it. And I don't know if it sets up pressure or it sets a sharpness to it, but I've had it for maybe the last 2 years, maybe a year and a half, 2 years, and it's hooked to my laptop. And it took some time to learn. It's a little different than my industrial cutter that's hooked to my it's different than the industrial cutter that's hooked to my desktop. It just does a few different things. It's a little heavier, and it just cuts a little more chunky, nice and precise, but it's just a little heavier. My Cricut sits on the side table. It's just a little more dynamic, and it's really, really precise. Like, it's super duper precise. And if you plan on printing your own stuff and doing it yourself, you definitely want to get one of these options. It can run you anywhere from, let's say, $200 to $350. You can get a Cricut definitely for anywhere from $250 to $300. They never really go on sale. It's going to save you a lot of money in the long run. I guarantee you're going to make that money back. It's fun to learn. It's fun to do it yourself. Like, I've literally done birthday party T-shirts, a variety of things just from having the machine and knowing the process of being able to go in there, chop it up, and create something, because it comes with all type of images stored into the program. It comes with all types of fonts. And like I said, if you go last week, I told y'all to go to defont.com. You can actually download those fonts to your computer, put them in your Cricut program, and it's available to you. So if you find some super dope over there, you can bring it over to your cutter, download the file to the system, and it'll be stored there as your own file. And you can pretty much use that same exact font that you got from defont.com on your cutter. So it's kind of like a nice little transfer process. Embroidery. Now, embroidery is, it's a little more sophisticated. And I wouldn't even say it costs more to get done, but I think it adds value to your garment or whatever you're printing on, because a lot of times you see it on hats, and I brought a few to show you. Embroidery is definitely a little more higher end. It definitely gives it a more professional, your garment's a professional look. But again, depends on what you're trying to do. Something you're trying to do might not be good for embroidery because it may be too big, it may be too many colors, it may be the thread count, it could be a lot of different stuff. But embroidery is definitely a little higher end, and like I said, adds a little more sophistication to your garment. And there's a few different types of embroidery. You have the basic low thread count. It be looking kind of cheesy to me when I see it on certain things. I'm like, you can tell that was super low thread count. It's almost like your sheets. But the higher the thread count, the more crispier it looks. And you also have your 3D puff. And I discovered this. I've always seen it, but I just never inquired about it. But when I inquired about it, and I seen it done, I was like, oh yeah, I gotta have that. And I actually brought an example of that now. You know, you should be able to see it. That's 3D embroidery. Now, if you see it, it kind of comes off real thick on the hat. So it's kind of extended. That's why they call it puff from what's behind it. And it takes a little more thread, and it is a little more expensive. Not a lot more expensive, but it is a little more expensive. And I also have this one here. I probably only wore this hat one time. It's regular embroidery here. If that even is embroidery, I think that's actually printed on there. Now that I'm feeling it, that's actually printed on there. And this is, again, 3D embroidery. If you can see, it's actually extended off of the hat. And that's 3D puff. And that's one of the embroideries I use a lot. It just, again, makes it look a lot richer. And to be honest with you, you could actually charge a little bit more because it just looks a lot better. Also with embroidery, a couple things are classified or put into that category, and that is twill and also chenille. And a lot of people say Chanel, but it's chenille. And chenille is basically what you see on varsity jackets. I think I showed you guys last week my CO jacket. The chenille is what the CO was made of on the front and the back. And that is almost like, everybody calls it the carpet material, but it's really just a piece of thread that they weave to create your logo. And it comes in a few different colors. You can get, it comes in so many different colors. And you can also get backing behind it that makes it a little more sturdier, and actually makes it look a little more richer when you have the backing behind it, but you don't necessarily need it. But if you want it, I definitely suggest it. Another setup fee. Again, it's a one-time fee. Once you pay it, make sure whoever did it the first time send you that file. Now you have your own stitch file. You can go to another embroidery place and you can send them that file. They won't charge you a setup fee because they have the file they need. They don't need to set it up for you. And I don't know how long it takes to set up a stitch file, but you only want to pay one time. That's just going to be your best bet. Twill is more or less what they use on professional team jerseys. You see it's a little thicker now. On high school, you normally see screen print, just paint on the jersey. Professional sports, even college sports, you see twill, which is more of a thick, sturdier piece of fabric that's also stitched down. You've seen it in a couple different colors. They also come with a different backing and border if you want to get that done. But it's mainly on professional teams' jerseys, especially hockey jerseys, with their logos and with their numbers. It's just a different fabric compared to just getting regular embroidery, which is just thread. And you could also Google that. You could Google the difference between twill and regular stitch embroidery. And you can see the difference of material that it is. And I'll also suggest you looking up chenille as well. And you see the difference on how much richer it looks than just regular embroidery. And it's definitely more expensive because of the way it's made and how much it costs. But you can check into that as well if that's something you want to do for your brand. Digital printing is what I absolutely love. It's a newfound love for me. You can pretty much take any image and get it digitally printed on somewhat like a transfer sheet, but it's thinner. Normally your transfer sheets come on a white piece of paper. This one is actually transparent. I think I showed you guys last week when I had my spools of thread on it. And it's just an image that I used, that I sent him, crystal clear picture that he printed on that sheet that I could actually press and peel. Like, it's amazing. I love digital printing. I plan on trying a lot more in the future.